Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family, we chose this one. This is episode 177, Spy Racers, Season 4, Mexico. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And with us, we have our Spy Racers experts. There is no intro here because this is a bonus episode dropping 3 days, actually really like 2 days and 4 hours from the time we record this. You know them from All Lap Long Last Lap. They are the only people we've ever talked about Spy Racers with, and the only people we will ever talk about Spy Racers with. We have back from the HTML show and also X's for Podcast, and now the HTML YouTube show as well that I just found out about. We have Nico Vasilo and Kevo Risse. Hello, guys.
All last lap, long last, laugh, long lap, last. Lap, long, lap, lock, lang, long, lap, lang.
It's hard to say things.
No, I
Words
couldn't
are
believe
difficult.
how well you said it. That's why
You
we're
were
trying to
great.
communicate. You did it with such, gorgeous finesse.
Is that why you sounded like you were having a stroke just now? I had no idea what you were doing. Because Joey was fine, and then you just started, I don't even know what that was, speaking in tongues.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad sign if Joe, too, is like, yes, that is humor, and everybody else is dead silent. That usually means that Joe is humoring me. Joey is sitting there going, well, I know what I'm editing. Kevo is sitting there going, I chose this.
No, I'm going to leave this in, though. I think I'm going to leave this in because I need people to know I need them to feel the confusion. But we're here, and, you said something right before we started recording, Nico, that this is a show no longer about Fast and Furious, really. It's just about these Spy Racers characters, and so it makes sense that things are a little bit off tonight because, I don't know, it's Fast and Furious, and they're in cars. Even that feels like an afterthought in certain elements.
But is that a bad thing for this?
I don't think it's inherently a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's just what the show has become.
Yeah.
Like, they're spies. They're not really spy racers. They're just spies.
It's kind of a bad thing, though, because then why is it Fast Furious? Is it just because cars? There's similarly the Jurassic Park Camp Carnivorous or whatever the hell the name of that cartoon show is. And that one, the dinosaurs aren't going to go away, obviously. So you have that connection to Jurassic World. Why is this under the Fast Furious banner that guys like you who are Fast Furious completionists, why should you feel obligated to watch this?
I don't know, and this is something that I will be upfront about this, that Nico messaged me the other day, and he's just like, we're devouring this season because we're really enjoying it. We think it's the best one yet. And I'm like, is it? Because it's hard for me to tell.
I didn't say we were really enjoying it. I said this is the best it's ever been.
Okay.
Okay. We're devouring it. It's the best it's ever been. And I'm like, is it? Because it's hard for me to tell. I don't really enjoy watching this because, again, we're not the demographic. I don't think this is a condemnation of the show. I don't think this is like a good thing or bad thing. We're just 30-something-year-old dudes, and this is explicitly made for 8 to 12-year-olds, probably.
I mean, I have a really positive thing to say about this season, that I finally kind of understand maybe what this show is and why we feel perhaps it has failings. It has to do with scale, scope, and reasonable, acceptable limits of what a show can pull off. Side note, I'm going to try and paraphrase somebody who need not ever be quoted ever again because they're disgusting, but they had a decent point. When you think about a live action program, you have to think about the confines of physicality and budget. It has to not just be plausible, but it has to be accomplishable with a budget that is not quite that of a film. When we're thinking about live action TV shows, to compare a TV show to a TV show, the stunts need to be reasonably impressive, but still pretty big. Now, when you give a TV show the opportunity to move to a comic book or a cartoon, you're immediately jeopardizing the contextual value of reality. And I know that sounds like a lot of big words, just to say a lot of big words, but I mean, I really do mean it. One of the things that happened when all of the popular shows from the WB in our teens, they all moved to comic book at one point very suddenly. Buffy the Vampire Slayer had a very successful comic run that spawned a lot of imitators. And in the context and in the process of imitating all of those shows, everything went from what could be accomplished with a primetime budget once a week, 22 times a year, to whatever the fuck they could figure out how to draw. Now, the problem there is you immediately lose the same grounding that made the reality meet so good here. When we take this a step further, Fast and Furious, by its definition, is a movie franchise, not a TV show. So we're already changing its format completely in order to make it work. This isn't going from weekly installments to weekly installments. This is going from bi- and triannual installments to... What the fuck? I mean, it seems like they're constantly making us watch this, right?
It's always new seasons. Yes.
They're just not even celebrating it. They're just like, it happened, guys. Can you watch it? Like, they're not even like checking with us if we're ready.
Oh, and by the way, it's happening next week. Like, it's not like it's a ramp up. Like, especially we're in the era now where it's like, hey, in 22 months we'll have F9 because of COVID pandemic. But it's just like, hey, yeah, we did another one of these seasons and it's out in 8 days. So if you want to watch it, cool. If not, that's also cool because we're going to make another one, I guess.
Well, Kevo made a joke of it's Spy Racer season 5 in June, and I was like, "What? No!" And he was like, "No, I don't know. I was making a joke." So,
but it's likely.
Yeah.
As we think about the context of what Fast and Furious is as a movie franchise, and then we try and relate it back to this animated series, one of the things we need to keep in mind is the scope and the scale. Fast and Furious as a film franchise looks to push our limits with our believability when it comes to feats of sort of like combustible engine, engineering. When you're taking a look at Spy Racers, it's meant to look pretty and loud and entertain 8-year-olds. And I mean that affectionately. In a lot of ways, you're comparing Power Wheels with Hot Wheels.
Sure.
Power Wheels, their whole thing was now you're driving for real, and Hot Wheels were things you picked up and you got to make up and explore your own imagination with. So much of what Spy Racers is looking to accomplish is the imaginative part that's kind of often left best to the individual, but I understand why they wanted to create a show and capitalize on the success of the television franchise. I think, though, we would have actually been better suited to a TV... I'm being really serious, but we would have been better suited to the Fury Bots, and it have been basically Transformers of the characters turning into their cars, and they could like get upgrades that allowed them to turn into different cars and stuff. Like, that might have been a better use of the Fast and Furious property. It just, in so many ways, this feels like an American adaptation of a British sitcom. I just like, it's not bad and I like it, but it's really unnecessary for the brand.
Well, I mean, going back to what you were saying before about adapting for a different medium, like animation lets them get weird, but they're still constrained to the world in which like physics mostly exists, right? And so if you're able to turn people into cars and cars into people, like, why not? Even though I think we are well past the point of ever having an actual genuine crossover, like, I don't think Dom's ever coming back. Like, Dom is just like, he was there for a couple episodes in season 1, and that's all we're ever going to get. And I think that's okay.
Well, actually, it's of note that he sent Vin daughter this season.
No, she's been the voice of Frosty's sister since the beginning.
But I mean, she was in this one. There was like a plot for her. So Vin
She
daughter
had reason to, yeah. True.
Yeah,
Sissy.
so he sent Vin daughter.
Like, I think they're still operating within a world where, like, they might cross over at some point, which I kind of appreciate and respect, but I also don't see that happening. But, like, I'm okay just get weird with it, man.
I don't know how I feel about the fact that there's no protagonist on this show anymore.
This does feel like Ms. Nowhere's season, though, right? Like, it's like she's kind of I guess every season is a different protagonist, but, like, this is her season.
Okay, good, because Echo wasn't in this season.
No.
They said that, you know what, Echo was in too much of last season.
Apparently,
and Tony too stupid last season. I think we made, oh God, what's her name? I'm feisty and I'm blonde and I've got a scratchy voice, so you know I come
Layla.
from the wrong side of the tracks. Layla, right.
Layla, yeah.
Just think Eric Clapton.
Just think
Right.
cocaine.
Just think cocaine. I knew a girl in high school who said that her parents were huge Clapton fans, and so they were going to either name her Layla or Cocaine, and her name was Layla. So, like... I mean, it's just such a great fucking way to introduce yourself to people.
It's great.
It's like, I tell this story about how I tell this real life story about how this pedophile told me I was too old when he tried to steal me off the internet. Like, I looked too old for him.
I was going to pivot that into a more acceptable story where, like, there's the Arrested Development joke about, like, Ron Howard naming his kids after where they were conceived, like Bryce Dallas, and then that's why there's Rebel Alley in season 4 of Arrested Development, because it's like...
I was on the internet, and I was, like, 14 or whatever, and this guy was like, you should meet up with me. Everybody will tell you I'm a good guy. And I was like, sure. And he was like, come meet me behind this shopping center by your house, but behind it. And I was like, sure. So I walked there, and then when the guy gets there, I was 14. And when the guy gets there, he pulls up in this sketchy ass van and he opens the door and he looks at me and goes, "And you're the guy from the internet?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Sorry, man, you're too old. I'm not into it." And he just drives away because he thought I looked too old.
What I love about this show is that these are ostensibly the episodes that are most geared toward everyone because they're the animated images and YouTube Fast and Furious Spy Racers, and then we got Nico going full Nico here.
Well,
and
so I tell this
here we
story.
are.
I tell this story at a dinner party weekend. That's an appropriate way to put it. And so I tell this story at this dinner party weekend, and this sort of entertainment friend of ours just goes, "That right there, that's your tight five. That's your tight five set right there. That's it." I mean, he's right though. What a great story! If you put the right spin on it, that's some Sarah Silverman shit, right? So,
sure.
Yeah.
Great is one word for it.
So, Kevo, what did you think of season 4?
Good stuff.
It was okay. It was fine. I was sad that Rafaela got dispatched so quickly, but that kind of makes sense. They needed to move on. I wish they could figure out the line between what is funny to make our characters look bumbling and what just makes them look incompetent. Like, yes, this was Ms. Nowhere's season, but sometimes some of the things that she does, I don't know why I should trust her to keep these children safe.
Dog, you're the only one that can save us. Dog, do the thing. Dog, save us, dog.
Oh, in the mouth. I also, I've never been a huge fan of Cisco to begin with. I don't find big, doofy, large, bumbling lugnut dude to be a character type that I like in the first place. He was particularly incompetent and childish this season. Ask Nico. I started yelling at the TV when he was defending his uncle for the 50th time. Well, he was innocent. Well, no, he wasn't completely innocent. And in fact, what he is in some ways worse than actually working with Moray. What was that? Was the guy's name?
Yeah, Moray. Yeah,
because it shows that you're an idiot.
It was last season, though, that we talked about how Cisco got separated from the team and we forgot that he was on the team. They're like, a team member returned. Yep. He's never had anything to do. They've always had a Cisco problem.
I sort of hear and kind of don't hear. There's something about my uncle didn't, or my cousin didn't know where the money was, how he was involved, so you can't blame him. I do hear what Cisco is trying to say, that there is sort of this unfair precedent set against certain groups of people more than others. Right?
Definitely.
And this is such a weird analogy, but if people are going to be when they see Evita, if they're going to be she should have asked where the money was coming from, she should have thought about it, then so can this luchador.
Well, I think what's especially weird about this season is that there is ostensibly an anti-wall, rightly so, sentiment, where at the end, what's actually pretty funny is that there's a line toward the end of the season where they ask the villain, Moray, what his plan is, right? And he says his goal is to uplift impoverished locations to level the playing field, allow the common people to take back what's rightfully theirs.
Oh, so he's everybody but Rafaela.
Yeah. What's funny is that Palindrome then says, that's the most cohesive statement you've made since capturing me, which feels like the conversation we have literally every time we talk about one of these movies, where it's wait, what's the bad guy's plan? What's Cypher trying to do? It's it's accountability. What does that mean? I don't know. But this guy clearly says, here's what I want to do.
Plans,
and I'm going to blow up Mexico City with a volcano?
But only the banks. But only the banks and the things of the rich.
Right, which is crazy. So there is at its core an element of letting the the underprivileged or whatever thrive and succeed, and there's a noble thing here, and yet the villain is a brown person and the suspected villain is a brown person. And it's just what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
There's some things that I'm having trouble with about this season. It did seem like Gary was kind of Ms. Nowhere sucks really quickly.
Really quick. He turned on her real fast. I agree.
And so I have this read that because I kept being look, I love Palindrome. He is Nick Offerman on HGH, and I'm all about it. Right.
So Palindrome, just as a quick backstory for people who have not seen the season, which is on Netflix now. Palindrome is the bigger bad, sort of, but he's a good guy in Ms. Nowhere's organization, which we still don't know anything about.
He's the bounty hunter.
He represents the Dwayne Johnson entrance, the
Sure.
larger-than-life new blood getting invigorated into the series part of the way through.
Fitness obsessed, yeah, and he's brought in to find Ms. Nowhere, who ostensibly goes rogue after our spy racers are framed through, we don't even really know, deepfake technology, I guess, where there's a video of them, like, burning down or blowing up headquarters.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons that I just watched with Kevo. Maybe there's just another room, and they're filming it, and Burns just keeps going in and going, "No, you're not getting it right," and like just keeps yelling at them to do a better job. Maybe there's just a backup team on retainer.
Look at you, so proud of yourself making Simpsons references.
I just think that Mr. Burns is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think I've
Him
gotten
and
there yet.
Smithers.
I'm only in the beginning of season 4. Where are you guys?
I completely forgot you're doing this too. That's so exciting.
Mhm.
That's just another way that I really respect your choices.
Wink.
We are watching sort of like a best of Kevo in his infinite sweetness put together a best of The Simpsons by his experience with the show. And we've been going through kind of watching a little bit of Monica in our lives, a little bit of Erica by our sides, a little bit of Marge Simpson's what we need. So it's been going pretty okay. I've been enjoying it a lot. It's both a celebration and condemnation of the failings of middle America as the transition era into a sort of post-Reagan American patriotism fading. Truly a critical indictment of the ways our country failed its people. It's one of the most incredible transformative things I've ever seen. It really takes what I thought the show was about stupid people and a bratty kid, and it makes me understand that the stupid people in Bratty Kid are meant to represent the failed people of a country who promised them better. And like, I am haunted by the efficacy of Homer's impotence as a man capable of providing for his family. I am humbled by Marge's ability to keep her family together without ever taking credit for it. And anytime she tries to, she's villainized by everybody, even Lisa, who is a fake progressive. And the Lisa of the show where I'm at would totally be one of those like white TERFs, you know what I mean? She'd get there, but the Lisa I'm at is a very flat understanding of progress. I just think they're so horrible to Maggie. She represents forgotten child syndrome, where she is the child they never meant to have, so she's the child that gets the least attention and is expected to be self-sufficient and co-raised by the children. I just think it's the best fucking show. Everything involving Krusty the Clown is a rather aggressive finger wave at corporate democracy in the early 90s, vis-a-vis product is good for you, now buy into the machine, be part of capitalism.
It's not just good, it's good enough.
It has been really spectacular. I have loved every minute of it. It has been really good.
So Joe, what do you think of season 4 of Spy Racers?
Watch this other cartoon.
When I finished it, I looked at Rachel and I said, I can't tell if that was the best season of Spy Racers or not, so I was on the same wavelength as Nico and Kevo. I liked it. It took a completely different direction. They've totally abandoned what they were building, it feels like, but at the same time I was like, that was enjoyable. It's not memorable, but it was enjoyable. Interesting. Like, I didn't really have like problems with this one character-wise. Like we were saying, like last season had no Cisco in it. They kept everybody together, which I liked. It felt more like teamwork, which was much better because we didn't have like a lot of teamwork last time. We've had like all these like seasons where they kind of split off and do their own thing and kind of meet up at the end. And this time they kind of like stayed together and had to like work through it together. And I was like, okay, so I feel like they're finding their footing here. So I did like that part of it. I also don't know if I would know more about what's happening in this show if I watched the episodes one at a time and space them out, or if I would forget more than I do if I watch them all in one giant chunk. Because, like, sometimes shit happens and I'm just like, I have no idea how we got here. But I don't think that there's, like, ever a reason how we got there. They just, like, skip parts of stuff. I don't know if that's me just being, like I missed something and, like, all of a sudden everybody's in a different place or what, but I don't think it is.
Watching all at once will give you a better sense of the overall scope, but you'll lose the details in between. I mean, they just do, like, wind up... Like, what I was surprised by early on is how quickly Palindrome finds them. Like, they run away, they're on the lam, they escape, and they, like, go, like, thousands of miles away, and, like, immediately he shows up because Gary knows where they are. And I'm like, oh, they're really kind of accelerating the story in a way that I did not expect them to. And then they introduce Maury, and there's the actual villain of the season or whatever. But, like, there's big kind of logical, I guess is the word, jumps in time and space that make sense, but also also are still surprising, I think. And Kevin, were you, because I feel like in terms of story and narrative and the stuff that we've, seen on, say, Disney Plus shows or whatever, or any other show, like, were you at all surprised by these kind of widespread, like, accelerations in the timeline at all, Kevo? Or is it just sort of, hey, that's just Spy Racers doing Spy Racers things?
Cartoons, either one.
Yeah, it kind of just feels like that just is Spy Racers. To me, the biggest failing of this season was the underdevelopment of the Moray storyline. It's weird that this show keeps teetering into this area of like magic and apocalypses and stuff, which again drives it very far from the franchise that it gets its name from. It's not that I would even say that this thing that it has become is very different from what they've been building the entire time, because it is. If I look back on early Spy Racers and look at what it is now, I would not say that this show is very different from what it originally started as, but it is not the franchise that it started as. I just don't know what to do with that. Right. Especially with the poorly developed antagonists. It really felt more like the bigger antagonist this season than Moray's whole search for the Holy Grail lava stuff. It felt like it was just, they got, what's that? Was it burned? Is that what spies are?
Yes. Yeah.
Because, like, burn notice!
That felt like the actual antagonist of the season, and fuck anything else.
What I think is interesting about the season is they do such a good job developing some of the new characters. Like, I think Palindrome was one of the best characters they've introduced in a while.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I think Tuco was a pretty cool character, especially voiced by Danny Trejo.
Yep.
And then, to your point, Kevo, there's Moray, and it's just like, I don't know who he is, and he's got cool technology, but, like, where does he come from? Like, it does feel like, to a certain extent, that this is the Fate of the Furious of Spy Racers, where it's like, Ms. Nowhere turned against the families, but it's not really. Like, she didn't really do it. Like, there's family or whatever, right? Like, it feels like they're doing the same kind of thing. Again, I don't know. Like, I also don't know that, like, in a similar but sort of different thing, like, I don't feel like Mexico played a big part at all. Like,
not at all.
It was just...
Not at all.
I was like, are they in Mexico? Because there's nothing, like, even when we were in Brazil and I was like, oh, they're in street food or whatever, you guys are like, that's not actually Brazil, like, whatever. I'm like, oh, but, like, here, it's like, this could be anywhere.
It should have just been called Not in America because war criminals.
Yeah. Spy Racers on the lam, on the run.
Ooh, on the run would have been great.
I think one of the things that most damages this show is that it attempts to stay beholden to its formula. We've reached a point where you made the joke of, okay, you didn't make this joke, but, like, sometimes people are talking and I get lost. My ATV just kind of goes into the woods for a minute.
You segue right off a cliff.
Kind of, sort of. And so I wound up at, when you're here, your family, come have our unlimited nos bowls. And I was like, how does this show fit into unlimited nos bowls? And, like, I really wanted to be able to explain that. This show doesn't have nos. This show has Yoka. That's everything you sort of need to know about the argument behind the fundament of the show. The Fast and Furious was designed to create a vaguely authentic interpretation of Romeo and Juliet style portrayals of streetcar culture. It was meant to bring your Hot Wheel sets to life with hot curves on the cars and even hotter curves on the bodies. But now, boof, right? Here comes Spy Racers, which is literally just meant to be a bright, colorful cartoon and sell fucking toys. It doesn't really do that. Spy Racers doesn't sell toys. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
That's true.
What Spy Racers does do is stimulate brand awareness for very little money in a period where it is difficult to properly stimulate brand awareness due to the pandemic. I think one of the biggest failings of this franchise is this either real or imagined feud has absolutely soured this franchise for so many people.
The Rock and Vin Diesel, or what?
Yeah, the Rock and Vin Diesel.
Okay.
For a second I was like, what do you mean what feud? What show are you on? I got a little bit Klaus there on that because I was like, disbelief. One of the things about Spy Racers that's endearing and charming is that it's super beholden to itself, but what it's become and what it tries to stay beholden to, it's like, and I think Joey, you might know what I'm talking about. Joe too, you might. Kevo, sorry, I'm going to lose you for a sec, babe, but I'll be right back for you. My favorite video game company outside of Nintendo proper is Square Enix, right? And Square Enix is responsible for some of the greatest JRPGs of all time. And one of the series of JRPGs that I enjoy is Drakengard. Drakengard is kind of what it sounds like. It would be like magical dragons. There's a spin-off of it, Nier, which is like a gritty crime world hundreds of years later based on one of the possible endings of one of the games.
Makes sense, yeah.
And for you to understand that these two things are even connected is so foreign. They're very connected, but they're completely not connected, but they're very connected, but they're their own things. They really are separate series for all things that matter in a lot of ways, right? If they tried to make Nier be exactly Drakengard, it would be garbage. It would fail because it has to be its own thing, which is why I think this show is struggling, because it is still trying to be Fast and Furious-y. At points when they would get back in cars, I would go, oh, look, cars.
You want them to just abandon Fast and Furious and just send it at this point.
Yeah, they should just come in and change Toretto to, like, Moretto, dub over it, Moretto, and then when Dom comes in, just dub over it with Saul. It's my cousin, Saul.
Here's something that I have to say. It's starting to feel, based on the things that we are seeing in every new episode drop, like the producers are listening to our show. I'm going to go ahead and just assume that they do. My big note to all of y'all making the show for the next season is specifically that. It is the complaint from anyone who cares about the Fast Furious franchise is that it has lost all connection to the Fast Furious franchise. Now, I understand we might not be able to get actors from the movies to appear on the show. Sure. But there's other ways that we can reconnect back to the movies. Introducing Tony Toretto in the first place, I had assumed was going to open us up to a whole world of Toretto cousins. Why aren't we seeing any other family members of any of the other cast members? Dom could have multiple cousins. Letty could have multiple cousins.
Sure.
We could meet Roman's family. Like, there's all of these things that we could be doing to connect back to the main franchise.
It's true.
We talked about this last season too, like with the locations. Like, they were in Rio, which is where Fast 5 was, and they didn't capitalize on that at all, too, right? So
I don't think it's going to get less silly, and it's a children's cartoon. Should we really ask it to?
No.
No. And in fact, like I keep saying, I want to see Fast Furious in space. We probably won't see that in the movies in the way that I would like to see it. You know, I want like spacesuit battles, like from Aliens. And we're probably not going to get that in a Fast Furious movie. So hopefully we could get it from the cartoon show. And that'd be cool.
You know, like, I feel like one of the biggest oversights that the franchise as a whole has made, and I think this goes to your point, Kevo, that like they have not connected, they're never going to connect, is that we have released, and I know things are kind of opening back up now, but like during the pandemic, there have been 2 seasons of this show released, and there was no greater push by Universal or the Fast and Furious accounts or any of the actors to be like, hey, we know that you can't see F9 yet, but like, go check this out. There's more story or whatever. Like, they're, as far as I can tell, they're not acknowledging that this exists. That just sort of screams to me like we don't care about it. Like, this is a separate thing.
There is disconnect, yeah. Even the game, too. When the game came out, none of the, like, actors were like, oh, go check out... Like, Tyrese wasn't like, I'm in Crossroads, go check it out, right?
I mean, he might... I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was there because he's in it. Like, he put time in and he got paid for it. But, like, it feels like there was an opportunity to, like, utilize this stuff that apparently has been done or is still being made or whenever this is being made, who knows? And be like, hey, we know that, you know, we have to push it back because of, you know, forces outside of our control. But, like, there's more Fast and Furious for you. And, like, maybe it's not made for you. Like, you could spin it in any number of ways and like make it more of an event other than like, hey, yeah, next Friday it's on Netflix. It's like, what?
And really at the end of the day, it's not bad. It's not, you know, gonna win a daytime Emmy or anything like that. But I don't think that the Fast Furious movies are going to win an Oscar either. It's not what its purpose is.
Right.
Not everything is meant to be that. I think that this show is pretty good for what it is. I wish I could have watched it spaced out a little more. We had to for the show, and of course, obviously, and I don't think that it really made it that much less enjoyable either. It's a cute, fun show. I enjoy the cast for the most part, and they're dynamic. I was really excited for the possibility of Frosty's sister being a more central character this season. That was a huge, huge letdown, and I had thought, at the very least, okay, we're not getting Vin, but his daughter's going to be in more. Great. Nope. Okay.
1 episode.
Oh, my other thing. I am redefining the rules on queer visibility for the 2020s, and gay parents no longer count as queer visibility. If you want points for queer visibility, you need queer actual main characters to your show. I appreciate that Frosty's moms are gay, and frankly, they're the only parents that we've met, which is wild. No, that doesn't fly anymore. So if you want points for queer visibility in a show like this, you need a queer character.
Well, to that point, sort of, kind of, is this season ends on a will they or won't they kiss between Tony and Layla, and like that doesn't feel like if that was going to happen, it should have happened, I think, already, or like they should have set it up at all. But like they look like they're going to kiss, and then they don't, and so this show is largely asexual, I guess. I mean, intentionally so, probably, but like you broach the subject. But I think to your point, Kevin, like I think you're right. It's not enough, especially when like their presence in this season is like, hey, yeah, hi, we're here, but we're gonna disappear for a while. You're on your own. Like it's not only that they're not really main characters, like they're just not in it, like by design.
The Kiss to me felt like they were testing the waters for them as a couple and seeing how the audience is going to react. Kind of like how they let Rafaela escape at the end of last season, but then they immediately caught her as if to say, no, we're done with her now. I guess they got audience reactions, and audience reactions were, no, that's okay. We got our fill of Rafaela. I wonder if they were putting that there to see what the audience reaction will be. I don't know who they're listening to. I guess us. They did that for us to see if we want them together.
I don't.
Very quickly, on our YouTube page, Calibris95 commented on one of our videos and was very excited for us to talk about Spy Racers Mexico. And Calibris said, did you guys notice that Tony and Layla have almost kissed? Those two remind me of Dom and Letty. What are your thoughts? Don't tell me right now. Tell it on the video.
They're not.
I don't know how I feel about it. Well, no, yeah, they're not Dom and Letty. I wouldn't say that.
I wasn't feeling it. It feels like something you were doing to push a 5th season, if anything. It's like, that's like what happens in a sitcom when they like are nearing the end of the line with ideas, that you're like, okay, put 2 of the main characters in a relationship for a season and let that like work or crumble.
Some people like that couple more than the main couple. Nico, how do you feel about odd couples that they put together late in the series?
So, I don't like Ross and Rachel together, but I think Joey pounding the shit out of Rachel with that big fat dick is like the hottest thing I've ever heard in my entire motherfucking life. And I just need that on the goddamn record. I ship that so fucking hard, and like I just don't get why other people don't like it. I'm really attracted to Matt LeBlanc.
That's fair.
I get it, though. I really get Joey and Rachel. You know, I think it was weird at first, but I think they convinced us. I think sometimes that couple can work. I think sometimes it doesn't, like Ann Perkins and
Chris Traeger,
Tom Haverford.
Oh, right. That was a dark era.
Ann and Chris was just random as fuck. Like, okay, let's have a baby together. Yeah, we're in love again. What? That's fine. Yeah. Who cares?
You guys are hitting the exact point that I was. Yes, I agree.
And that's something about Layla and Tony too. It's like, who cares?
If we must, sure. If it helps the story somehow, maybe.
If someone wants it.
Well, so what's interesting, and interesting is a very strong phrase or word for what I'm about to say, is that season 3 ended with Rafaela on the run and Cleve seemingly dead, but then his mech suit or whatever was open, right? Because I remember,
Touché.
I looked back at my notes and I was like, well, how did the last season end? Like they're basically both on the lam. And so by the end of the first episode, Rafaela gets caught and she's ostensibly put away, even though season 3 was about breaking her out of jail or whatever, right? So if you want a season 5, it's Cleve. Like you have that there, because like nothing from this season has been left unturned. Like the entire, like this is as complete of a season, I think, as they can imagine. Like everything is resolved, everything is back to normal. Gary and Ms. Nowhere are back together, like friends again. I guess you bring back Palindrome somehow, maybe of Tuco, but like there's no outstanding drama.
I have a point about this, actually. I think that in a lot of ways they resolved Gary and Ms. Nowhere to not be a couple. I had felt there was a lot of sexual tension there.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's just her beta. Like, I mean that really positively. He's somebody who thrives on an alpha beta situation by where he is the big muscle that the smart, capable, super incredible person can always rely on. They are both people of color, so it's not a commentary on a person of color being subservient to a white person, and I appreciate that. By making it the hyper-muscular man, it subverts the trope of the My Gal Friday and instead turns the big bodyguard into a My Gal Friday hybrid.
And yet she never sexualized him, which is very important.
I feel like she and Palindrome are clearly going to get, let's call it Joey Rachel.
They're going to have some beautiful babies, I can tell you that much.
Right. I feel like Gary found a love in gay Julius.
Was he new this season or he existed?
No,
before?
I was just going to ask that.
He exists. He came in at some point, like, in a previous season, because, like, I remember calling him Barry because he was just, like, other Gary. Oh, you know what it was when they were in the desert and Gary and Mrs. Nowhere were, like, lost? I think he came in.
I genuinely don't remember, but I would believe it. I just really appreciated the ramping up of that character this season. Then they are both voiced by True Valentino.
Amazing.
Which I think is hilarious.
I didn't know they was the same voice. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved that side character to give Gary. I think their chemistry was hilarious, and I love this weird little family unit that they want to be with Mom and Dad Palindrome Nowhere.
One of our initial hopes about this organization was that we were going to get some answers. Like, this is the Mr. Nobody thing. Like, this is the organization that Kurt Russell works for. We might get some answers.
Yeah.
And, like, this season in particular is like, you're never getting answers. Like, we're not telling you jack shit about shit, right?
True,
like,
yeah.
There's a bunch of agents that we have here via drone. Gary is loyal to the organization overall. They have Palindrome, whether he's an employee or just, like, a hired gun, who knows? But, you know, the fact that, like, the redacted thing keeps coming back is a funny joke. Like, we're never going to know anything about this, which I guess tracks to the nowhere, nobody, nothing element of it all. But, like, to me, as in terms of Fast and Furious canon, this organization is by far the most interesting thing to me about the show. And I get that by design we'll never know about it, but, like, I want to know more about it. And, like, I would prefer a spin-off of just them, of, like, the Gary and Julius, like, fun time hour or something, you know, like Troy Nobbit in the morning. Like, I want more of this element of the show, because this feels more Fast and Furious in a way than anything else in the show even comes close to being.
But I do love them keeping it mysterious and ambiguous, because I think you can get more out of it that way, and you can play fast and loose with the rules. And I even hope that it stays that way in the live action, because I think that it brings a level of levity to the franchise and to the idea that would keep it from going a little bit too over the top.
Yeah. We can go over the top, right? We are allowed to.
Yeah. We can. We definitely can.
Joe, do you have any other thoughts about this season of Spy Racers? Anything we'd not touch on?
Yes. Something kind of big for us is that they got a fucking pet. And we talk about how there's no animals ever in Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, Roscoe. They stole a dog.
Yeah, they definitely stole someone's dog, fair. But I did like that they added an animal, it being in an animated show. I was like, that's pretty cool, because, like, we don't get animals at all, and we're always, like, bitching that we don't have any animals. Like, they never have pets, so, like, that was something cool and interesting to me. Also, they make a pizza and ranch comment. Are you guys pizza and ranch fans, or no?
No, it's disgusting.
Really?
I'm not a ranch person in general. The house style, the dressing, the vacation, it's not my thing.
I just, like, it's pardon the phrase, it's white trash condiment.
It is.
I'm white trash though, so I don't care.
Yeah, I fucking love it. That's
I don't
what I'm saying.
fucking give a shit. Who am I classing it up for?
Thank you.
Only dip my platinum shrimp in foie gras. So
You dip French fries in Caesar dressing. Don't act like you're that much more classy than ranch.
Okay, I want to be honest with you. I don't know the last time I had dressing on anything. When I used to do things like have dressing, I like a diner, and, like, so I would, like, order too much food.
Caesar is just ranch dressing for intellectuals.
It is.
Yeah,
Good.
It's ranch dressing with anchovies. Yeah.
Here's my actual comment about pizza and ranch. If your pizza's good enough, you don't need ranch.
That's a good comment. I agree with that, because
The crust.
I think it's best for shitty pizza. It is.
I need something to dip the crust.
No, you don't. I mean, you can, but you don't need it. And with
If
good
it's
crust.
like a really good crust, I get it. We didn't talk about the fucking dog eating corn acid trip that happened. And I know that
cool
Kevo
animation style. Yeah.
Holds the wild animation sequence this season.
We got one back, and I know that Kevo was really excited about the Yoko one, so I wanted to know what he thought about it.
Yeah, it was cute. I didn't really understand what the hell was happening.
I was very disappointed that it was just regular corn and not elote when they mentioned elote at some point.
Wait, did it eat a corn cob?
Yes, yeah.
It should have died.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing?
Yes,
I don't
it
know
is,
that.
actually. Nico and I learned that on Fuller House.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Cosmo almost died because he ate one of the corn cobs from Max's farm. So yeah, if he ate a corn cob, that dog should have died.
He just tripped balls, apparently. That's what the answer was. But, okay.
I mean, the animation was cool. That part was cool. Yay, we got our weird animation vignette for this season. It was weird, though, and didn't make any sense. And
no sense. No plot.
That kills dogs, so they can't digest that.
That's very fair.
I think it can eat corn. That's why I was like, did he eat just like corn from like a dish?
No, it was corn. It was on a cob. We didn't see him eat the entire cob. We just saw the corn on the cob, and then the dog started tripping.
Weird.
It was very, it's weird.
I'm gonna have to investigate this corn.
Did you guys think that the animation style has changed this season? Because I felt like this season felt very much like video game cinematics, as opposed to how cartoony the previous seasons were. And I can't tell if that's just my perception of it, because we changed the layout of our living room and I'm sitting further from the TV, or if it was actually something that happened.
No, I specifically thought the season was a lot brighter.
I'm talking like the 3D rendering and like the camera angles of their characters felt like it was more like a cinematic shot in the middle of a video game, as opposed to how the cartoon was very flat before. And was I imagining it?
I'm thinking.
It didn't stand out to me. I don't have an answer, but it didn't stand out to me.
Like the last fight scene felt like very, like they were using camera shots that they didn't seem to, like it just, they felt more 3D somehow, and I don't know what that was.
I mean, that could just be a different kind of directing, because you're able to just choreograph animation however you want. So that might just be somebody else behind the camera, as it were, telling the animators what to do.
I don't know, Joe. I think that was the corn hitting you a little bit too hard.
I might have ate the whole cob. And the last thing that I have about this season is I'm glad they brought back the all lugnuts joke and video.
Yeah.
I just think that it's a cute little like inside joke, funny viral video in their world, and I'm glad that they kept that in and referred to it.
It would have felt so foolish to have made no effort to tie this back into anything. I understand that part of what they're hoping to accomplish with this show is, individual seasons that serve individual purposes, but without any connective tissue, it just feels like a waste of my time in some ways.
Well, I like that in that same way that they bring back one of Layla's shifter friends to like be their hookup in Mexico. I'm like, oh right, we did a whole season on that. Like
That's
I forgot
right,
that,
yeah.
but like it was cool that he came back.
I like that too. I did like that he was like, oh, he mentioned Sashi, who we had in the first season. So like I think they're moving in the right direction. As like weird as we were about the third season, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing parts here that I'm like, I can dig this, and I'm on board for like as you're progressing. Maybe not the Tony and Layla kissing thing, but we're getting there.
I think my second biggest complaint, though, would then be I wish we knew they were moving in a direction and that we had any idea of the longevity of this series. That might have been it. That might have been the end. That might have been
You're right,
the series finale. We don't know, and we won't know until August when they drop 8 more episodes. Yeah. Well, the last came out in October. What was the last one before?
No, the last one came out Christmas week. Even more
right.
recent than that.
That's right.
Oh my God! Wait, so was there one in October though? It was both.
There was one. So the first season came out in Christmas 19, and then season 3 came out Christmas 20. There was one in between. I don't remember when it was. Oh, actually, it was maybe August, because that was when we kind of disrupted our lap with you guys, because we're like, we don't really want to watch this more than once. It came out Spy Racer season 2 October, right? I think you.
Yeah,
is that what you
dead
said?
on.
Yeah. December, October, December, April.
But then specifically October, December, April. So 2.5 months.
This is some MCU shit.
Yeah.
They're on it. They're definitely
Choke
on
on cartoon!
I guess they haven't. I guess no one else. I guess no one's got anything to do.
Or they're all done. I still don't know. Like, I still asked the question last time, and like you guys had smart answers about like how they do animation in advance. And I feel like this coming out unexpectedly like kind of makes me question everything once again. Like, I don't know. Maybe they have like 10 seasons fully animated that were just,
I have no idea.
It's like how when there's a team, the two teams playing the Super Bowl, and they print up championship victory merch for both of them. And then they send all of the other ones somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, there are just like season on season of Spy Racers that are never going to see the light of day when like Netflix cancels them. But like, well, we can't release them. Like, we'll just tell this country over here that like this is the new show.
And it's not important to my enjoyment of the series or anything like that. Like, toward the end of Steven Universe, the fact that we didn't know when the show was even ending, that was affecting my enjoyment of the show itself. This is Spy Racers, so there isn't really any sort of like overarching story or myth arc that I need to be concerned. It's just affecting my ability to, I guess, I want to know if I should keep caring or not. Should I know that there is another one on the horizon, or should I be like, okay, it's over?
You're going to find out in 3 months, bud.
Kevo, I have a serious question that is not serious at all. If we had said to you, hey, there's a new season of the show out, we're not going to cover it for the podcast, but it's out, would you have watched this? Like, are you invested in this enough to have spent another, 3 hours or whatever this is watching the show, or is it like, I don't know?
Probably would have watched it. It helps that every season so far has been 8 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would necessarily count it out if it got increased to like a 13. If it was 22 episodes a season, probably not. I don't know.
So then one other related-ish question. If this followed the Disney Plus release of one a week, would you have still watched it? Would you have waited to binge it till the end? Or would you have watched one a week? I don't know if I have an answer to this question, but I'm just wondering because I know that you guys covered Falcon and Winter Soldier on a weekly basis, and I think that there's a benefit to that kind of show releasing incrementally. I don't know if that benefits this show, but I'm wondering.
This isn't that show.
Yeah, I don't think that it would benefit this show. I might watch it weekly, but I don't think that I would watch it weekly with any specific intent or veracity the way that I have done with the Marvel shows so far. I think I would be like, if I feel like watching it, then I will.
And here's 20 minutes. I got to fill it with something, right?
So. Yeah, or I might decide to wait depending on where my head is at when it's released. Like, I think it is very subjective to the situation.
Cool, fair enough. Nico, any other thoughts about Spy Racers Mexico?
I don't even have answers to the questions you just asked Kevo. I don't know if I would watch it weekly. I don't know. I mean, I probably would watch it inevitably at some point just to finish. It's fine, but it's not something that I'm like so excited about week after week.
Makes sense.
Cool.
I have one last thing. On the back of Palindrome's jacket, it says, "Live on, O dog." And his name's Palindrome. So that's go do no evil.
Whoa.
Did anybody catch what the bottom said, or did nobody else cared about that besides me? Because I paused many times trying to read the back of this jacket when I realized it had words and his name was Palindrome. I was like, they're going to put something here.
I will tell you I did not pause this show once.
Okay, fair enough. That's totally fine. But yes, I was trying to figure out what the back of his jacket said, but I only got the top part of it.
That's actually pretty cool. I like that.
I do. Does Okay, yes.
You can ask a question about Palindrome.
No. It's right. A palindrome doesn't need to be the same words frontwards and backwards. It just needs to read something.
No, just the letters need to be.
The letters need to be inverted, mirrored. Yes.
Like Taco Cat.
Exactly, but that's the same word frontwards and backwards in kayak.
There is no single one-word taco cat, though. It's 2 words.
That's
taco and cat. So it does support your point. Although I like this single-word taco cat you're pitching. I have a Siamese. I have a taco cat.
I am annoyed that palindrome is not a palindrome. I feel like every word that describes a thing should be an example of that thing.
Like an onomatopoeia?
Yeah, that sounds like what it is. That kind of works. It's not. I know that the root of that word does not. It means something, but boy, oh boy.
No, that's my final note. That was my final note. That was the last thing I had.
Nico, any of the notes?
No, just that, if they do another season, I'll watch another season. If they don't do another season, I won't watch another season. There won't be another season to watch.
I like that we had a good excuse to talk to you guys again. I'm glad you're back.
Well, they'll be back again in a couple months when F9 comes out. Theoretically.
Theoretically, yes.
We've got a whole plan in place that I will tell you about after we hit the stop recording button that we have not announced to the public yet, but we have a plan in place for F9, which should be very exciting. We go beyond Next Lap to talk about F9. What would you like to plug before you leave, before you bid us farewell for the evening?
Come check out X's for Podcast, where we're churning out high-quality podcasts twice a week, talking about everybody's favorite thing, the X-Men comics.
And now X means more than just X-Men.
Yes, this is true. And, Kevo, I think you can talk a little bit about our HTML videos.
Yes, we've been putting out reaction videos so far for Falcon and Winter Soldier over on the X's for Podcast.
That's cool.
YouTube account. We'll probably get back to that once Loki comes back. We would have done Black Widow in the middle, but apparently that's just not meant to be.
Nope.
Eventually, we will return to finish our State of the MCU episode over on the Husbands Talking More or Less audio podcast. There's just so much going on in the MCU, and it is constantly changing, and my heart just can't take it anymore.
Come back on Tuesday, where we have Heather Antos talking about Hobbs and Shaw.
Which she apparently fucking loved on
which
Twitter,
we knew, which was thankfully.
Thankfully.
We also, as this comes out on Friday the 30th, on Monday, check out Mike Manzi's podcast, Third Time's a Charm, where we have our second episode of the crossover, Lone Wolf and Cub number 3, and then coming soon to the Patreon, toofast2forever.com, we will have our third episode in that crossover about Lone Wolf and Cub number 4. We've got lots of episodes. Next week's Hobbs and Shaw, and then after that, there's 2 episodes the next week, so there's lots of Fast and Furious stuff. We are swimming in content, dripping in that sweet, sweet tent.
That was gross.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/toofast2forever, or at toofast2forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at toofast2forever.com and our store at toofast2forever.shop. Come back on Tuesday for Hobbs and Shaw, but remember, on Monday, Third Time's a Charm, separate audio feed. Check out our episode about Lone Wolf and Cub number 3. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Kevo Risse and Nico Vasilo of Husbands Talking More or Less, and we'll tell you all about it.
We'll see you